This is the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a beverage from 450 North Brewing, the official beverage of the Indy 11 Coaches Show. Now, let's get an inside look at the players, tactics, and opponents with Indy 11 head coach Sean McAuley.
And this is episode 6 of the Indy 11 Coaches Show with Sean McAuley, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. I'm Ian Gilmore. Thank you for joining us once more on the Indy 11 Coaches Show. Sean, once again, thanks for joining as always. I want to start you out with a fun question here. It is kind of preseason for a lot of the teams in Europe, and a lot of them obviously come here. Some of them go to Asia. Some of them go all across Europe. If you could take Indy 11 on an international preseason overseas, budget is no object, where would you want to go and who would you want to play?
It's different. I think you'd have to try and go to obviously Europe. That'd be a great experience to have preseason. And then you'd be looking at Spain and Italy and England, Germany. They're the teams like that. I'd like to play Real Madrid. I know
straight for the big ones.
Barcelona fans are out there, but you'd go Real Madrid. You would go, and then probably try and play Juventus.
Would you want to play Celtic?
Celtic, yeah, that'd be Scotland. That'd be.
Would you be able to handle that?
Yeah, I've played against them before, so that's
manage against them.
No, I've not, and not being a coach while with a team up there, but played in there. Incredible atmosphere. But yeah, Spain, Italy, across to England, play Man United, up to Scotland, and maybe fit a Bayern Munich in. They're the top clubs that, you know.
It would be a hell of a trip.
I apologise to anybody who supports Paris Saint-Germain or any French team, or, you know, but I think growing up in my era, they're the teams that, you know, would be the big draw. Yeah,
that would be brilliant. Hey, who knows? Maybe a few years. Okay, so to team news / just Indy 11 stuff. We can start happy because I think there's some good injury news sort of coming up. We've seen Aiden Quinn return to training. This week he traveled to Charleston. What can you tell us about Aiden and his status right now?
Yeah, he's done really well in training. He's sort of got himself back to, you know, a healthy status of his injury, so that's good. Fitness-wise, we've been improving him over the last couple of weeks, which is really good. And then he'll join the squad for this weekend's game. And, you know, ideally in terms of progression, to have him fully fit and firing, which we want everybody for the final run-in for the season, we need to sort of build his minutes up. So hopefully he'll get some playing time at the weekend.
Can you kind of pull the curtain back a little bit and tell us what he's been doing in the last kind of 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, to get ready for coming back and being able to make an impact?
He's been doing a lot of work individually, obviously, and his day sort of looks like, you know, some PT, then some strengthening work on his injury, making sure that, you know, we have a balance and he regains the strength from his injured leg. Then he'll do field work, and he's been doing that with, you know, the athletic trainer and you know, the fitness people. Then he'll join the training session. And over the last couple of weeks, he's trained. We've invited the academy in so that we could have 11 versus 11, so recreate match situations for him. Because as much as you try and, you know, replicate a game load in training with, you know, different size fields and, you know, 4 versus 4 through to 9 versus 9, nothing beats playing a full field, 11 versus 11. So we're really thankful that the academy came in on a couple of occasions and we played 11 versus 11 to build his sort of match-specific minutes up. And again, nothing can recreate the actual game, so that's where we'll look to get him now that he's fully training with us. He's had a couple of 11 versus 11 practice games. We'll now get him into the real deal.
Watching him kind of from an outside perspective, you can see that, like, obviously he's back and he's still the player that he was, but the last thing that sort of comes in a long rehab like this is fitness. And I know you've been doing some fitness work with him after trainings as well.
Yeah. So you know, a couple of things. You know, if I feel as though he's not got the most out of it, you know, in terms of, and that's each different load. You know, sometimes you can have, you know, something where you've got a lot of high speed running, but your acceleration, deceleration work's not been there because the session's not allowed you to do it. So we just change and sort of increase what we think he might have missed through how the session was organised. So he gets, a bit of everything. But yeah, I've done a couple of things with him, which has been enjoyable for me, probably not for him. But yeah, it's been good, and it's good to see him back, and it's good to have him back.
Yeah, I think that was illustrated very well by him hands on knees and you kicking the ball around, making him run and go.
Yeah.
That was about it. That's your job, right?
Yeah.
This has been obviously a long process for him. And we talked, I think, more near the beginning of the season, kind of like your first conversations with him and what they were about. What have you seen from him since you got here, kind of like the work he's done that nobody's seen?
That he's really desperate to be a professional footballer. The injury and the age of that injury happening can sometimes, knock people back, and sometimes people don't recover. But you can see the hunger and desire that Aiden has to get back and be a professional footballer. And then obviously over the last couple of weeks when he's joined in fully with the team, you can see his leadership qualities and his expectations. And his expectations for performance sort of match mine a little bit. That he wants to win at everything he does, and he wants to pass that mentality to everybody else.
The other kind of longish term one, I think Maka King was, it was the Chicago Fire 2 game that he got hurt. He seems to be kind of getting closer to a return. Do you have any sort of timetable on when that might be?
I think he's probably going to start, returning to field work just with the physical staff and the athletic trainer. Will do field work with him on Monday. And then the doctors, I think, are recommending that he's non-contact for another 3 weeks. So then after that, I would say 3 to 4 weeks, he'll be back in for contention, I would have thought.
Happy news as well.
Yeah.
Then a couple of the shorter ones. I know Lawrence was out at the weekend. Was that just kind of a one-time thing and just a small knock?
Yeah, he had a grade 1 hamstring strain, so he's back in for this weekend, available for the squad. Elliot Collier got injured last week in training as well, and he's now going to be probably a little bit longer.
Okay.
So that's going to be, this situation where we have to wait and see with that one. His strain was a little bit higher towards the glute, and we're a little bit concerned that it might be easier to re-injure. So it needs to fully heal.
And then I think Jack Blake and Musa are the only other two. Are they close? I know Jack's was kind of weren't sure what it was at the start and thought it might be a little bit longer, and not sure what Musa's was.
Both of them, I think, will be training this week. It's difficult now because we're at Wednesday, we travel Thursday, we play Friday, recover Saturday. So I think both of them are expected to train fully with the team on Monday. And then that's what we've got to do in terms of, similar with Quinn, we've got to manage the minutes. The difference with Jack is Jack's played a lot of minutes prior to his injury, but he's been out for longer than Musa. Musa's played hardly any minutes prior to his injury. So that's where they're both probably in a similar spot where they'll need a week or two until they're fully match fit for 90 minutes.
It's all good news, but I know we're talking about this where no one's really ready to start or play 90 minutes yet. But obviously, them all coming back is
and like I said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and all that sort of stuff. The trophy's given out at the end of the season, and we need to get them back and healthy and regain that belief with them that we can win things at the end. The good thing is we've got the Open Cup semi-final, and I think they'll be fully fit for around that period.
Brilliant. I know that a lot of us see it kind of like the effects of injuries in games, but in training, how different is it when you do have like a fully healthy group and all your top players are there in training day to day?
I mean, it's great. I mean, you want that health competition because it drives standards. So, it's good to have everybody fit, but we're also realistic that I think it's very unrealistic to say that you're going to go, multiple months in a season where every single player is available and fit, and that's the benefit of having a squad and an academy with, the likes of Logan coming through and joining that. So it's important that you have to take these things as part of what the season is. We also have to analyse everything from training load to game load to make sure that it's not overtraining. and we're also not deconditioning the players by doing too little. So there's a fine balance to get everybody in, but injuries are random events, and as much as we try to control them with some prehabilitation in terms of making sure that we try not to get the players injured, unfortunately that's a part of the job. And
you talk about fixture load. You don't love it, but if you're in an Open Cup semifinal, you'll take it. And speaking of Open Cup, we'll recap the month of July. But actually, before we do that, a shout out, as we do, to 450 North Spirits and Brewing Company. The drink of the day today is bourbon cream soda, red cream. I believe we've had this one before, so we're getting our first repeat. This was put in by request because of how good it was last time. So you have to get to 450 North, and highly suggested to try the bourbon cream soda. So the month of July, Sean, and I think we'd be burying the lead if we started with anything but the win over Atlanta. When you think back to that night now, a few weeks removed, what's the first thing that you remember?
The first thing, obviously, for us is, credit to the players. I thought they did really well in the first half, and then, withstood a real onslaught of attacks from an MLS team. So credit to them. That's what I remember. And I also remember then how everybody else feels, like, the staff, everybody involved with the club. Obviously, it's great for the owner and for Ursula and Greg. It's fantastic, the ownership group. And last but not least, the supporters who travel down there. I think we play for them, and that's something that when you have a result like that and a performance like that in front of your supporters, your hardcore supporters who have the opportunity to go down, and I know everybody doesn't have the opportunity to go down, so they watch it on TV. When you're making a lot of people happy, it's really rewarding.
The pictures and the videos of the whole team going over to celebrate with them right after the game, I think we'll be seeing those for years and years, especially when it comes to just, some of the best moments that this club has had. Yeah. And I mean, I remember I thought that the one thing I remember from that night, not the one thing, but one of the things is the post quarterfinal victory beer has entered my top 10 beers list. And that's okay, because the taste of that one after victory is just brilliant. I know when we talked before, you said it was a chance to get to a semifinal. Did it feel any more special than that in retrospect?
No, because obviously we knew that the goal is huge for us, and but no, it didn't feel any big. And as soon as it's happened, obviously all the things that happen afterwards, the celebration for the players and everything, and the supporters. We now have another game that's exactly the same, but you go one step further. So now we just focus on that, to be fair.
I'm still going to ask you the question in a little bit, if it's bigger than just getting to a final, if you win.
Okay.
Okay. So to the rest of the month now. Winless in the league, but only one loss in those 4 games. And it's one of those where there's a couple of moments where if things go the other way, we're talking about the month in kind of a different way, I think. And the first was the 95th minute equalizer for Rhode Island in the 3-3 draw. What did you make of that game, especially because the first 45 minutes were really positive, I thought. So what did you make of that game?
I mean, we go into it a lot. We knew that they'd come back out because they've done it in multiple games previous. I think the team that's probably drawn the most out of all the games. So we know that they can come back. But they did it, I think, against Sacramento, and I think they might win that game. But anyway, we knew that they had a strong second half in them. A little bit disappointed that we conceded the goals. I thought it probably one of the goals that we conceded was maybe unfair on Hunter, in terms of his positioning and the strikers and maybe a foul on it. But you've got to get over that, and we did do, and we got the equaliser, and really pleased that they went ahead and they got back to it. We went ahead, and then they got the equaliser in the last second. But at that point, I knew that a draw was probably the right result, because the second half they were excellent. I didn't think Gibbo would score the winner anyway, so that was probably the right result.
Was it one of those too early things, scored in the 79th minute, too early?
I don't know, because I think we had I'm looking at their equaliser now in my head, and we had multiple mistakes before it. The ball came into Augustine, he didn't hold it, and then it came back to Max Snyder, and he should have played it in behind. And if he plays it in behind, we run it to the corner flag, or we're through on goal, maybe in a 2-versus-1 situation. And that didn't go in behind, then it's played short, and then it's a throw-in, and then there's a lot of things that happen. And to concede right at the very, very last kick is really tough for the players. But I would have liked Gibbo to have scored a winning goal.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Just to stay on that equalizer for a second, I think I do remember they only had the one guy in the box, and kind of all the defenders of our guys kind of migrated towards the ball. And it was kind of that like 1 or 2 versus 6. And that almost seems like it's one of those things where everyone's trying to get that effort in to block the cross that they've kind of forgotten about, that there is the thing at the back. So it's one of those where it's like, can't fault them too much for...
They all went to protect the goal, and what they should have done is protect the player who's going to try and have the shot. And, there was too many people on the same page of let's get back and try and block the shot and protect the goal, when somebody should have looked after the player who was receiving the pass. I feel like it's got to be... I mean, I haven't played at a level like this, obviously, but it's got to be so hard in the 95th minute to keep that in your brain. Yeah, and you're falling deeper and deeper, but you've got to credit the opposition as well.
Speaking of Gibbo, in that was the first time we kind of see him come off the bench and played a more kind of attacking role. I don't know how you would categorize his position that night, and we've seen that in a couple of games since. As someone who, during most of his career in this league, played a bit deeper, why did you kind of want him to do that and go farther forward?
At that moment in time, we were under so much pressure because we couldn't get pressure on the ball. So if you stop the pressure earlier on higher up the field, if you can put pressure on that, then the ball won't come as far into your half of the field. So we weren't getting as much pressure on the ball in their half of the field. So I just wanted somebody who can run, which Gibbo can, and he's quite sharp in his movements, to be up there and put pressure on it. And I also thought when he went, he did really well with the ball as well. He made good decisions, but yeah, I didn't want us to sit deep. I wanted somebody with a lot of energy to play in their half of the field and try and stop them getting into our half.
Lawrence scored his first pro goal in that game, and he's come in and played a bit more in the absence of Jack Blake. How would you assess kind of the last month-ish or so that he's had and kind of his development, this being his first pro season?
Yeah, he's really good. He's waited for his chance. He's took his minutes when he's took them. He's always looked comfortable. Then when he's started in the last few games, because opportunity's been there for him, he's looked really comfortable. And then obviously it's a shame that he got his little injury to be out of the team for the last game. But I think he's done well. He'll probably go back to Chicago Fire next season, and if he has a good pre-season, he might be part of their 18 and squad. Whether he's good enough to start will be determined by what other players they've got in their squad and what direction they go in. But I think if he has a good pre-season with Chicago next year, he should definitely make that squad.
When there's players like that on loan that are having at least good spells, do you get contact very much from parent clubs, or do you stay in correspondence with them regularly?
No, we'll stay in correspondence with them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, keep them updated on how he's doing, because I want them to have a career. Yeah. The better they do with us, the better the career is going to be, and that's the benefit of coming on loan and us having that opportunity to take these younger, squad players at MLS clubs. I want them to come, enjoy it, do well, and then go on and have a better career, and that's where our club's going to be really good for younger players. If we can continue to develop people like him, Hunter, Tega came in and obviously they recalled him. I think he scored an hat-trick last week. I don't think the level he's playing at is as good as USL, because he's gone back and he's playing in the MLS Next Pro. But I think they're probably just, if he wasn't playing regularly for us, they want to retain his value.
Yeah. Next up was a draw at home against Lowden, an in-form Lowden. I remember talking to you after. You weren't too happy with that one, but I feel like it is kind of a good sign if you can get a result when you're not playing well.
Yeah, I mean, everybody says that, I'm not a big fan of draws, but you can't underestimate where a point can take you. Point at the end of the season, it might be the difference between finishing 4th and 5th. It could be the difference between 1st and 2nd. Who knows? But I just felt as if we weren't at that game. They were better than us.
How we talked a little bit about this, I think, kind of off camera and stuff. But How much do you feel, these hot summer days in Indiana, how much do you feel that plays into kind of what your team can do sometimes, especially the way you set them up?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it was really tough that day.
Yeah.
But the opposition are going through the same thing.
Yep.
The turf takes a lot out of it, and so it is tough. It sees a different type of game. But we have to take it into consideration. But it's not going to be something that we use as an excuse, because, like I said, the opposition have the exact same environment to play in. The game after that, which was Tampa, we had that same weather. And what does hurt when you have those hot, humid days is when the opposition scores first. And the first goal against Tampa was offside. If that goal's in MLS, it's getting called back VAR and it's offside.
I think you mentioned that to the guys, and I had to go back and watch it and see, because it didn't even cross my mind in real time or when I went back and watched the game. But as you mentioned, that is one thing, because Cal Jennings comes across the front post and then flicks it on, and there's a guy right in front of Hunter, wasn't it?
Right in front of him, 6-yard box.
Yeah.
So you have to, as a goalkeeper, you change your position, but also if somebody's stood right in front of the goalkeeper, there's a good chance he's going to be offside.
I think he's impacting the play.
He's interfering with play.
Yes, I think so.
So it's offside. The goal's offside.
And goals change games.
They're a really good team. They're a really good team. But in that type of weather, when you go 1-0 up, it's harder for the opposition to get themselves going and get back in. And I thought, we had a couple of chances in that first half where we could have maybe gone 1-0, and we didn't play well at the start. But for that second, from about 15 minutes in the first half, I thought we were poor. But then for the rest of that half, I thought we were pretty good. But then obviously, when you're 1-0 down, it's a different game. Yeah,
and as you always said, goals change games. Yeah. And I think you mentioned it too. Like we saw definitely. You don't always see it, I think, as a spectator. So obviously of teams going 1-0 up and playing slightly different. But I felt like just the way that they were kind of being slow, trying to build out of the back, playing every single goal kick 2 yards to their center back.
Yeah.
You could kind of see how that changed it. You said after the game too that they're kind of at a level you want us to get to, and I think you're referring to more long term kind of consistency.
Yeah, I would have thought so. They're a good club in this league.
Yeah.
And we want to be a good club in this league, and we are a good club in this league. They're doing things, slightly different. They have, maybe a few more resources at hand. Who knows? Because I'm not in their locker room every day, but I know the coach quite well. So I know what they have. Whether that makes a difference, I don't know. But I just think that they are very consistent in what they do, and I would like to see that same consistency. And year in, year out, Louisville are the same, Tampa are the same, Sacramento are the same. Same when it comes to recruitment of players. Same when it comes to, the training environment. It's the same, and I would say that gives them that edge to not constantly be reinventing themselves.
And I think we've shown this year that even, your tenure hasn't even reached a year yet, but we're at the very least kind of staying there with the.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to call them big boys. But.
No, somebody from the MLS, because obviously they watch our league regular, and I don't know what's gone off in the past year at this football club, so I can only say what he said. He said, in previous years, we've not been in the top clubs. Now I don't know, but I can't make it. But he said you've always been like sort of middle to bottom. He says now I'm looking at you as middle to top, and I thought that was real. Somebody with so much experience in the MLS and the youth game. I thought that was a real compliment to say that everybody's now looking at us as if we are one of the others. So, and listen, all I can do is ask the staff who have been here previously. I think last year was with 6 in the playoffs. Maybe the year before didn't make the playoffs. And
both the years before, I think.
So you look at it and you go, well, he's probably right.
Yeah.
My biggest challenge now is making sure that everybody stays on board to meet the expectations that we have, and we can go through the last game of the month. But and I said this to the players, average players think we've had a good month. And you mentioned it, and I know you're not an average player, you're a good player, right? But average players think we've had a good month. We've got through to the semi-final of the Open Cup, and we've only lost 1 game out of 4. I think we've had the worst month of the season. Because the first 2 months were pretty poor. We only got 4 points in each of them months. Mm-hmm. This month we've got 3. And people are still saying we've done well. It doesn't make sense to me. And that's where I'm saying we've got to now change that mindset from being all right to now being elite. And at this moment in time, it's difficult to change that around because of, like I said, what the guy said to me, we're sort of middle to bottom. And now he's looking at us like sort of middle to top. And like I said, the last 3 years, 6, not making it, would suggest that that's where we are. I don't want us to be there. And having this last month has been a real eye-opener because I'm trying to change that mindset. Yep. I think we've been really poor this month. I thought we were fantastic against Atlanta and we've got to do the exact same against KC. But in the league game, some people will look at the narrative of we've only lost 1 in 4. I think it's been the worst month of the season because we've got 3 points. And if we're looking at the first 2 months of the season, getting 4 and 4 and saying we weren't in a good spot, we can't look at ourselves in this, getting 3 points out of 4 games as anything other than, a failure. Now, them points will add up because in what we did in May and June was incredible. And we should have got more points in June. We should have beat Orange County, but we'll not go back to June because you want to review July. But that's where my mind is. And that's where I want to take us to that consistency level of the Tampa, the Louisville, Charleston. Charleston only done it the last couple of years, to be fair, but they've invested a lot in doing it. And I think, like even today, I think they've just signed Jay Chapman because Aaron Malloy's gone down. Them sorts of things are what you would say is probably needed at the very, very top of the league. My thing with Sacramento, all these teams that are consistently at the top, is because they set expectations and meet the expectations. And I want to make sure that ours do the same.
Changing that mindset, like you said, are there like bigger actionable steps you can take, or is that more of a little things day to day that add up over time?
Everything, big and little, everything you do. But realistically, as we're having this conversation now, you did say earlier on, it's been not bad because we've only lost 1 in 4.
Yep.
And I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. But if this was the first 4 games of the season, we'd be looking and saying we're at the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
So you've got to have that understanding of where the bigger picture is. The bigger picture is I don't think we've done well enough to get the points we need to get. Now, could we have got another point? Yeah, because like I said, that offside goal could have changed things a little bit. Could we have done something differently? In the other games, I'm looking at last weekend's game. We should have won that game, and we didn't. Now, when it gets to the last 5 minutes and we're battling away, just to try and win it, but make sure we don't lose it. That's great mentality. Reflection afterwards is we should win that game if we want to be at the top, and that's the sort of smaller steps. And the bigger step is we can't look at the losing 1 in a month or losing 1 in 4 games as a good record. We want wins. We want to make sure that we're setting the expectations really high.
Can you specify a bit more about Tulsa and what you thought?
Yeah. First off, I thought we were okay. First 15 minutes, I thought we were good in the game, and we were better than them. And, I'm not against saying when we're not as good as the opposition. We were better than the opposition, and we were better than the opposition for the majority of the game. We just didn't have the final pass. The quality in the final pass, I thought, was poor. Now, the field on, a quarter of the field is really near enough unplayable, but again, it's for both teams.
Yep.
And there was other areas of the field where we had the opportunity to just pass it across the goal or play a final pass for somebody in a good scoring opportunity, and we didn't do it. And again, I go back to, I didn't see Hunter making many saves, under pressure a lot. And we didn't do enough on the other side to get the goal. And I think if we'd have scored 1, again, going back to goal, with the where their team was at and where ours was at and where we were playing, if we score, I think we definitely come away with 3 points.
Yeah. One of the things we've seen over the past month was the debut and then subsequent sort of emergence of Logan Needlinger. So I saw him play in 2022 with the Academy at I think it was the USL Academy playoffs in November of 2022. And obviously I am not a soccer, I don't have the tactical know-how or anything that you do, but he didn't necessarily stand out to me at that point. So, and then watching him now just in training and in games, to me, he's had some incredible growth. Can you tell us a bit about kind of when he was first brought into training with the first team and what you've seen in his development that's made you feel good enough to elevate him sort of to a first team player?
Yeah, nothing phases him. He's got all the basic attributes. And back to when, I used to have to assess youth players in relation to them trying to get through into the professional game in England. I used real simple model: run, tackle, pass, head. Everybody talks about all the other stuff. They are individual footballers playing in a team. So when somebody says, yeah, and he plays in the pocket, all right, well, what does that mean? When he comes in and he's able to connect, what does it mean? Because he's an individual and he's going to play in a team sport, but he's going to play as an individual. Can he run? Can he tackle? Can he pass it? Can he head it? And if he can't do one of them things, then he needs to be very elite at one of the other three. So if somebody's not big enough to, win a lot of challenges in the air, they better be really elite at passing or running, as in quick, or tackling. And likewise, if you're playing with a position where maybe a wider forward doesn't like tackling as much, better be quick, elite at quick, passing the ball, crossing, setting up chances, or heading. You have to have something elite. What Logan's got is he can do all four. He can run, he can tackle, he can pass, and he can head. He's got a chance. Then we look at the decision making. We've had to do that in first team football, and I think it was against Lowden. He went on in the wrong position, but he went on in a position. I didn't tell him to play.
Can you tell that story?
Yeah, and he made a decision. The ball bounced at the edge of the box, and he put his foot through it and sent it over the halfway line. Some experienced players try and control it. Some younger players are worried and they don't know what to do, and they second guess themselves. He didn't second guess himself. Made the exact right decision and kicked the ball over the halfway line because it was the right thing to do. And sometimes younger players, my advice to younger players, they think and they listen to the coach of everything's got to be A to B, and once it goes to B, you've got to get to C. The game's not like that. The game's played with decision making, and you make the right decision. Now, there are multiple decisions you can make at that one moment, and each pick the right one because we're under pressure and he put the ball over the halfway line. Some people would control it and pass it, and then under pressure again, or it goes out of play, or they give it back to the goalkeeper and he kicks it out of play. He made the right decision. So his decision making is good, and he can do all the other four.
I think one thing that sort of illustrated the same point there was against Tulsa. There was, I think it was maybe like 10 minutes after he came on, he got the ball back from someone on the left side, turned and then shot it from outside the 18. And to me, that sort of feels sort of the same in terms of, I feel like, some academy players might be afraid of getting shtick off the older guys for taking a shot from outside the 18.
Yeah.
But he's confident enough, like you said, in his abilities and just decision-making to do something like that.
And trust me, he's going to fail.
Yeah.
He's going to have bad games. He's going to play. And he's going to make decisions. And this is all part of his growth. So we'll be there to support that, and work with him through that failure. But he's a good prospect for the club.
Can you tell the story of the coming on in the wrong position?
Yeah, he for some reason, I think because the game was going where it was going, I wanted to play him in central midfield for the decision-making process. And I wanted to see him in chaos, to see what it was like. Because the game at that point was chaos.
This was against Tampa, right?
Against Tampa, yeah.
When it was 2-0?
Yeah. And we didn't have we didn't have a chance. We were working hard to try and get back in the game, but they were managing a lot of the stuff that we were doing. And I wanted to see him in a little bit of... Because it's tough going and playing central midfield as a young player.
Yeah.
Because I thought that would be a great opportunity to see whether he's got it. Because playing on the outside of the field, like he played on the right when he went to Tampa Bay, he's played on the left when he went to Tulsa. Playing the outside of the field can be a little bit easier. You get a bit more time. So for some reason, he thought I said, go and play on the right-hand side of Cam Lindley. But he just went on the really, really, really right-hand side of him and went and played right back. And Ben Mines went and played right wing. And before we knew it, we had a 4-for-2. Now, I wasn't too concerned. I was concerned because I thought maybe one of the older players had said to him, go and play there. And it wasn't. I asked him straight away and he said, no, that's what I thought he said. So I spoke with him. My decision was to try and play him in centre, play him in chaos and get him used to the midfield. And he was a bit upset that he thought he got it wrong. But on the flip side to it, when he came on and did play where he played, he helped the team. He did a couple of things where you think, you know what, you've got a chance. But the whole reason for him being out of position, or me wanting him to play in the position, was to see how we would manage with the centre of the field in chaos. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's, again, saw him in 2022, and to see him 2 years later kind of put all that work in and it to come to fruition, it's been cool. Finally, semifinal on August 27th. Last Open Cup game was probably the biggest game in club history. I think this is definitely no question. You're the last non-MLS team left. It's the farthest this team has ever gone in the Cup. Is it just a chance to play in a final?
I mean, yeah. I mean, this is a bigger just a chance, but it is an opportunity for everybody to get to a final. And when I mean everybody like all of us, like us in this room, all the staff that work outside of the training ground staff, and then supporters and obviously the ownership. We all want to try and get to a final, because it's not going to be the 11 people. It's not going to be the person who puts the 5th penalty in that wins you in extra time. It's going to be everybody, and it's a full team effort. So the full team reward would be to get to a final, which would be incredible. And I've been, obviously, the MLS Cup final was great. And when I was a young player at Man United, I went to FA Cup finals, League Cup finals with the team. And if you're not part of the squad, and there was only, I think, 3 subs at that time, you would then go and travel. The club would take you down and travel, and you would go and do all the corporate facilities and go as a member of the Man United staff. And even then, just to get to a final is huge. And, fortunately, Man United, they won the finals that they went to, FA Cup, Leagues Cup, European Cup Winners' Cup, all that sort of stuff. When we went as a group to the final, there's no better day. And the results sort of are in the background of it. It's everything that happens before. Mm-hmm. Now, our semi-final is going to feel like that because it's the longest we've ever been in a competition. But trust me, the final's even better. So we'll have a good day in the semi-final, but the final's even better. And to experience it, irrespective of what happens at the end, is a great experience for everybody that's involved.
When you look at Sporting KC as a coach, what do you see?
Trouble everywhere. I was in charge of Minnesota last year when we played him, because Adrian had left, and I took the last 2 games, and it was a win all. Whoever took the last spot in the playoffs. And we couldn't get over the line with it. They were better than us, but they were better. I think at that point, they'd been on a run since April, because they had a really poor start to the season. Then they went on this incredible run and beat everybody. So we were up against it right from the start, because they've got players in positions who are top draw. Yeah. And if you look at their front 3, I think they get paid probably around $5 million between the 3 of them. And if you look at, no disrespect, but our back 3 that's going to play against them, I don't think we're close to the the $5 million mark. But what we have got is we've got a team spirit and a desire and a hunger to do well. And if we work well together, play well, take the opportunities that we can have, and then maybe upset them a little bit, and make sure that they don't play to their max, and maybe if they have an off day, we have a chance of winning.
Yeah, I think when I looked at transfer market, it was 14 players making 7 figures, or value-wise were 7 figures.
No, I think they might be making that as well.
Yeah, they can.
Obviously the league, with the use of the allocation money now, and really good clubs in the MLS manipulate the allocation money really well. you can get a lot of players that are earning, over $1 million.
Yeah, high value. Anything else today that we didn't cover, or anything you'd like to add on?
No, not from mine. I think we've covered the month. A big month next month. 6 games, 5 league, Open Cup. Tough month as well because we're playing some good teams. So it's going to be, everybody all hands to the bump, and we're really pleased that we've got a few of the injuries coming back. But we'll see where August takes us.
Yeah, could be special once more. So that'll do it for episode 6 of the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. A usual shout out to shop.indy11.com. Get yourself a quarter zip like one of these or many other things. Another thank you to our partners at 450 North Spirits and Brewing. Today we had the bourbon cream soda. We hope you will join us next time for episode 7 of the Indy 11 Coaches Show. See you then.
This is the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Be sure to like and follow this podcast and check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network. To watch the video version of this podcast, subscribe to the Indy 11 YouTube channel.